Hello, this week's Sedra is Sedra Beshalach. When you're described by other people, how do they refer to you? Do they use your profession, where you live, where you went to school? Do they describe you by your character or something you did in the past? Do you have a title? These are all common ways people describe others. Unless they have a well-known sibling, few people are described as someone's sibling, someone's brother or sister. In this week's Torah portion, we find Miriam described as Aaron's sister, and it struck our scholars as odd. Right after the Jews crossed through the split sea, we read, "Then Miriam the prophetess, Aaron's sister, took a musical instrument in her hand, and all the women went out after her to dance with musical instruments." In his commentary to this pasuk, Rashi was curious about God describing Miriam as Aaron's sister, when she was also, obviously, Moshe's sister. Rashi offered two explanations why Miriam was described as Aaron's sister and not Moshe and Aaron's sister. The first explanation came from the Talmud in Masechah Sota. The Gemara began by asking, the sister of Aaron and not the sister of Moshe? The Gemara answered, Rav Amram says that Rav says, and some say that Rav Nachman says that Rav says. This teaches that Miriam already prophesied when she was still the sister of only Aaron, before Moshe was born. As a child, Miriam would say in the future, my mother will give birth to a son who will save the Jewish people. And once Moshe was born, the entire house was filled with light. Her father arose and kissed her on their head. He said to her, my daughter, your prophecy has been fulfilled. Rashi's second explanation as to why Miriam was described as Aaron's sister stemmed from the time when he jeopardized his life for her by praying on her behalf and so possibly incurring God's displeasure when she was stricken with tsarat, with leprosy. We later learn in the Torah, Aaron said to Moshe, don't count the sin against us which we committed in our folly. Let Miriam not be as one dead who emerges from his mother's womb with half his flesh eaten away. Moshe cried out to Hashem, saying, God, heal her. Kel na rafa na la. The difference between these two explanations is the first described Miriam. The lesson in Masechah Sota discussed Miriam as a young prophetess. Miriam was called Aaron's sister because at a very young age, when she was only Aaron's sister, she was already showing signs of greatness. The second explanation discussed her relationship with Aaron. She was Aaron's sister because Aaron risked his life for her. But neither of these explanations explain why Miriam wasn't described only as a prophetess and not just as one of her siblings' sisters. Miriam was described as Aaron's sister because it described Miriam as sharing a character trait with Aaron, specifically the trait of unifying the people. In Pirkei Avos, we learn Hillel taught, be of the disciples of Aaron, loving peace and pursuing peace. Our sages explained how would Aaron pursue peace? When he saw two people in dispute, he would go to each one separately without the other's knowledge and say to them, see how your fellow regrets for having wronged you. He asked me to come to you so you would forgive him. Through this, the next time these two people met, they would make up. After the splitting of the sea and the salvation of the people, Miriam didn't just stand by. She brought the people together and inspired them to praise Hashem in gratitude for the miracle Hashem just performed for them. Miriam showed she was just like her brother, who was well known for chasing peace and for unifying the people. What a powerful lesson about Miriam, but also as a model for us. Shabbat Shalom.